I'm Maya, and I need to tell you about the Thanksgiving that changed everything. The Thanksgiving when my family decided I wasn't good enough to sit at their table because I'm just an AC tech. The same family who had no problem taking my money for years to fund my sister's medical school dreams. But when they kicked me out when they told me I'd embarrass them in front of important people, I made a decision that would shake our family to its core. I cut off every penny I'd been giving them. And what happened next? Well, let me tell you, sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's simply choosing yourself. Before we dive in, I'd love to know, what time are you listening to this? Are you on your commute taking a break? Or maybe lying in bed unable to sleep? Drop a comment below. Your stories matter too, and I read every single one. The neon sign of Morrison HVAC flickered against the darkening Seattle sky as I locked up for the holiday weekend. November rain misted against my face, carrying that particular Pacific Northwest chill that seeps through even the thickest jacket. My hands were still slightly greasy despite 3 washes, occupational hazard of fixing heating systems all day, but there was warmth in my chest that had nothing to do with the weather. Thanksgiving was tomorrow, and for once, I'd cleared my entire schedule. No emergency calls, no last-minute repairs. Just family. I climbed into my work truck, the familiar smell of motor oil and metal tools oddly comforting. 28 years old, and I'd built something real here. My own HVAC business, 5 employees, more work than we could handle. Sure, it wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work that kept people warm through brutal winters. My phone buzzed as I started the engine. Mom's contact photo lit up the screen. A picture from 5 years ago when Priya had just gotten into medical school. We'd all been smiling then. "Hi, Mom," I answered, putting her on speaker as I navigated through downtown traffic. "Maya." Her voice had that careful, measured tone that immediately set off warning bells. "I need to talk to you about tomorrow." I gripped the steering wheel tighter, watching the Space Needle disappear in my rearview mirror. "What about tomorrow? Do you need me to pick up anything? I already got the sweet potato casserole you asked for." There was a pause, the kind that stretches too long, filling up with unspoken words. "We think it might be better if you didn't come this year." The words hit like ice water. I nearly missed my turn, yanking the wheel at the last second. What? What do you mean, don't come? It's Thanksgiving." "It's complicated, Beta." She used the endearment, but it felt hollow. "Priya's boyfriend David, his parents will be there. They're both doctors at Swedish Medical Center. Very prominent family. We just think." "You think what?" My voice rose despite my efforts to keep it level. "We think it might be better to keep things appropriate. You understand?" Appropriate. The word burned. "Because I fix air conditioners for a living." "Maya, don't be dramatic. It's not like that." "Then what is it like, Mom? Explain it to me." The rain picked up, streaking across my windshield like tears. Another pause. I could picture her in their Bellevue house, probably standing in the kitchen I'd helped renovate last year, twisting her wedding ring the way she did when she was uncomfortable. David's family has certain expectations. They're very traditional, conservative. We don't want anything to jeopardize Priya's relationship. She's worked so hard to get where she is. And I haven't. The laugh that escaped me was bitter. "Mom, do you have any idea how many overtime hours I've worked? How many emergency calls I've taken at 2 a.m.? I built a business from nothing." "It's different, Maya. You know it's different. Because I work with my hands instead of a stethoscope. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. We'll do something next weekend, just family." Just family. As if I wasn't family when it mattered. "Does Dad know about this?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. Rajesh Patel never stood up to Mom when it came to Priya. He agrees, it's for the best. And Priya? What does she say? The silence stretched even longer this time. She understands the situation. She understands. Of course she did. Perfect Priya. Future Dr. Priya, who never had to worry about student loans because her older sister made sure of it. I see, I said quietly. Well, thank Mom. Thanks for making it crystal clear where I stand in this family. Maya, don't be like this. I hung up. My hands shook as I navigated the familiar streets toward my apartment in Ballard. The sweet potato casserole sat in its carrier on the passenger seat, mocking me. I'd spent 2 hours making it from scratch yesterday, following my grandmother's recipe. When I finally made it home, I sat in my truck for a long moment, engine off, rain drumming on the roof. My phone buzzed repeatedly. Texts from Mom, probably. I didn't look. Instead, I stared at the photo tucked into my sun visor. Last year's Thanksgiving. All of us crowded around the table, Priya leaning against me, both of us laughing at something Dad had said. I'd been wearing my work shirt because I'd come straight from an emergency call. No one had minded then. Or maybe they had, and I just hadn't noticed. Later that evening, my phone rang again. This time, it was my cousin Arjun. I almost didn't answer, but Arjun had always been the one family member who saw things clearly. Hey, I said, collapsing onto my couch. Maya, what the hell is going on? I just heard from my mom that you're not coming tomorrow. Apparently, I'm not appropriate enough for the boyfriend's parents. Are you fucking kidding me? Arjun never minced words. After everything you've done for them, guess it doesn't matter. Maya. His voice softened. You know this is wrong, right? You know Priya literally told her study group last week that you're in construction when they asked about family. My stomach dropped. What? Yeah. I heard it from Neha. She's in the same program. Priya's been telling people you work in construction management instead of HVAC repair, like she's ashamed or something. The betrayal cut deeper than Mom's phone call. Construction management. As if the truth of what I did, keeping people's homes warm and safe, wasn't good enough. I've been paying her tuition, I said quietly. Every semester. $50,000 a year. I know, Arjun said. Trust me, I know. And they know too. They just don't care. After we hung up, I sat in my dark apartment, city lights twinkling outside like distant stars. Tomorrow, my family would sit around that dining table without me. They'd probably make excuses. Maya had to work. Or she wasn't feeling well. Anything but the truth. I pulled out my laptop and logged into the payment portal for the University of Washington Medical School. There it was clear as day. Next payment due, December 1st. $25,000. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. For 4 years, I'd made these payments without question, without thanks, without acknowledgement. Because that's what family did. But family didn't uninvite you from Thanksgiving because you embarrassed them. Family didn't lie about what you did for a living. Family didn't erase you when convenient. Thunder rumbled outside, and the rain intensified. Seattle weather at its finest, dark, moody, and unforgiving. Perfect for the decision I was about to make. The next morning, Thanksgiving Day, I woke to gray skies and the sound of rain against my window. No smell of turkey roasting, no sounds of family bustling in the kitchen. Just me alone in my Ballard apartment with a decision that felt heavier than any HVAC unit I'd ever installed. I made coffee, strong and black, and sat at my small kitchen table with my laptop. The University of Washington payment portal stared back at me, cursor blinking in the password field. Muscle memory typed it in Priya 2020, the year she'd gotten accepted. I'd been so proud that day. Account overview, student Priya Patel, current balance 000. Next payment due, December 1st, 2024, $25,000. Payment method, Maya, A. Patel. Checking account. 4782, 4 years of payments lined up in neat rows, $200,000 total. Not including the living expenses, I'd covered the textbooks, the stethoscope that cost more than most people's rent. All of it pulled from the business I'd built with calloused hands and 4 a.m. emergency calls. I clicked on payment methods. A pop-up appeared. Are you sure you want to remove this payment method? This action cannot be undone. My phone buzzed. A text from Priya. Mom said you're not feeling well. Hope you feel better. Save me some leftovers. Not feeling well. So that was the story they'd gone with. I set my phone face down and turned back to the screen. Click. Payment method removed. Next, I logged into Seattle City Light. The utility bill for my parents' Bellevue house had been in my name since Dad's credit tanked 5 years ago. I'd never minded. It was just easier this way, they'd said. Cancel autopay? Remove payment method? Puget Sound Energy? Same story. Comcast Internet. The family cell phone plan I'd moved everyone onto to save money. One by one, I methodically removed myself from every financial entanglement. By noon, I'd severed every financial tie except one. I stared at the joint checking account Mom had insisted we keep for emergencies. The account I'd been depositing money into monthly to help with household expenses. Current balance, $8,547. My money technically but accessible to all three of them. I initiated a transfer to my personal account. Full amount. Then I did something I'd never done before. I blocked their numbers. All of them. Mom, Dad, Priya. Not forever, I told myself. Just for today. Just until I could breathe again. I spent Thanksgiving eating Chinese takeout from the place down the street that never closed. The owner, Mrs. Chen, didn't ask why I was there alone. She just gave me extra fortune cookies and a sympathetic smile. Family is complicated, she said in accented English, patting my hand. Yeah, I agreed, cracking open a cookie. The fortune inside read, "A new path requires new shoes." I almost laughed. If only it were that simple. By evening, I'd had 3 beers and made a decision. If they wanted to pretend I didn't exist, I'd make it easier for them. I opened my laptop again and started drafting an email to my accounts manager at the bank. Please remove me as an authorized user on all shared accounts with the Patel family effective immediately. Send. The next morning, Black Friday, my phone practically exploded with notifications the moment I unblocked their numbers. 17 missed calls from Mom, 12 from Priya. Even Dad had called 3 times and he never called. I let it ring and ring, then finally picked up on Mom's 5th attempt. Maya, thank God we've been trying to reach you. There's something wrong with the electricity. Good morning to you too, Mom. This isn't funny. The power company says our account has been terminated, and the internet is out. Your father is trying to watch the game. I took a sip of coffee, letting her words hang in the air. Sounds like you should call them and set up new accounts. But you always handle that. Well, I'm just an AC tech, Mom. I'm sure you can figure it out. Maya, what is this about? It's about the fact that I'm good enough to pay your bills but not good enough to eat at your table. Silence. Then, that's not... You're overreacting. Am I... How was dinner, by the way? Did David's parents approve of your doctor-daughter? Were they impressed by the house I helped renovate, the utilities I keep running? Maya, please? You're being childish. No, Mom. I'm being done. What do you mean, done? Check Priya's tuition portal. Check your bank account. Check all of it. I'm done being your dirty little secret who funds your respectable life. You wouldn't dare. I already did. I hung up and turned my phone off completely. Let them figure it out. Let them see what life looked like without the family member they were too ashamed to acknowledge. I had work to do anyway. Black Friday meant broken heaters and malfunctioning systems from people trying to host too many guests. My phone, my work phone, rang constantly with emergency calls. Morrison HVAC. I answered for the dozenth time. Oh, thank God you're open. The voice was frantic. Our heat went out last night and we have a house full of family. I'll be there in 30 minutes. I promised, already grabbing my tools. Because that's what I did. I fixed things. I helped people. I showed up. Even when my own family wished I wouldn't. The call started before sunrise on Saturday. I'd turned my personal phone back on foolishly, thinking they might have taken a day to reflect. Instead, I woke to a cascade of notifications that made my screen look like a panic attack in digital form. Mom 23 missed calls, Priya 31 missed calls, Dad 8 missed calls, 17 text messages, 6 voicemails. I made coffee before listening to any of them. If I was going to deal with this, I needed caffeine, and the kind of clarity that only comes from being absolutely certain of your choices. The first voicemail was from Priya, her usually composed doctor-in-training voice cracked with panic. Maya, what did you do? I just got an email saying my tuition payment was declined. This has to be a mistake. Call me back now. The second from Mom, dripping with forced sweetness. Beta, we need to talk about this misunderstanding. You know we love you. Please call me back so we can fix this. The third, Priya, again angrier. I can't believe you're being this petty. You're going to ruin my entire future over one dinner, Maya. I'm going to be kicked out of medical school. I deleted the rest without listening. My work phone rang. A regular client with a heating issue. I focused on the simple clarity of fixing things that were actually broken, not pretending everything was fine when it wasn't. By the time I returned home that evening, exhausted from back-to-back emergency calls, my apartment building's intercom was buzzing. I saw Priya on the security camera, her usually perfect hair disheveled, mascara smudged. I didn't buzz her in. Maya, she shouted into the intercom. I know you're there. Your truck is outside. I watched her on the screen for a moment. Designer coat, expensive boots. The Michael Kors bag I'd bought her for her birthday. All funded by the sister she was too embarrassed to claim. My phone rang. Her name flashed on the screen. This time I answered. Let me in, she demanded. No. Maya, you're being ridiculous. We need to talk about this. Do we? Because we didn't need to talk when you told people I work in construction management. We didn't need to talk when you let Mom uninvite me from Thanksgiving. That's not... How did you know about that? People talk, Priya. Especially when you're lying about your family. She was quiet for a moment. On the security screen, I watched her shoulders slump. Can we please just talk? It's freezing out here. There's a Starbucks 2 blocks down. I hear doctors like coffee shops. Former doctor, she said bitterly. If I can't pay tuition, I'm out of the program. That sounds like a you problem. How can you be so cold? I laughed, harsh and brittle. Cold. I've paid your tuition for 4 years. I've covered your rent when you couldn't make it. I bought your textbooks, your equipment, hell, I even paid for that Canada Goose coat you're wearing. And you couldn't even tell people what I really do for a living. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. You were ashamed of me. I wasn't ashamed, David's family, they're very traditional. Old money. They wouldn't understand. Understand what? That your family actually works for a living? That your sister gets her hands dirty so you can keep yours clean? Through the camera, I watched her wipe at her eyes. For a moment, my resolve wavered. This was still my little sister. The girl I'd taught to ride a bike, who'd crawled into my bed during thunderstorms. But then I remembered the Thanksgiving table I wasn't allowed to sit at. Please, Maya, I'll lose everything. No, Priya, you'll lose my money. There's a difference. The deadline is Monday. If I don't pay, then you'd better start applying for loans. Or ask David's old money family. I'm sure they'd be happy to help their future daughter-in-law. They don't know about the tuition thing, she admitted quietly. Another lie, shocking. Maya. I'm done, Priya. Done being your ATM. Done being your shameful secret. Done pretending we're a family when you only acknowledge me when you need something. That's not true. When was the last time you introduced me to your friends? When was the last time you visited me here in my working-class neighborhood? When was the last time you said thank you for anything I've done? Silence. That's what I thought. I ended the call and turned off the intercom. She stood outside for another 20 minutes before finally leaving. That night, the family group chat exploded. I'd forgotten I was still in it. Mom Maya is having some kind of breakdown. Nobody respond to her until she calms down. Aunt Rashmi. What's going on, Mom? She's upset about a misunderstanding and taking it out on poor Priya. Uncle VJ kids these days. So dramatic. Priya. She cut off my tuition payments. I'm going to be expelled. Aunt Rashmi. What? Why would she do that? I watched the messages roll in, each one painting me as the villain, the unstable one, the jealous sister who couldn't handle Priya's success. Finally, I typed, "Me ask them why I wasn't invited to Thanksgiving." Then I left the group. My phone immediately started ringing. Aunt Rashmi. I let it go to voicemail. Then Uncle VJ. Then cousins I hadn't spoken to in months. I turned off my phone and sat in the darkness of my apartment, rain pattering against the windows. Somewhere across the city, my family was scrambling, panicking, trying to figure out how to save Priya's medical career without the invisible foundation that had been supporting it. And for the first time in years, that wasn't my problem to solve. By Sunday morning, Priya had gone nuclear. I discovered this the way everyone discovers they've become the villain in someone else's story, through social media. My business Facebook page, which I barely used except for the occasional customer testimonial, had 3 new 1-star reviews. Owner is unstable and unreliable. Abandoned family commitments. Wouldn't trust this person in my home. No integrity. Selfish owner who doesn't understand loyalty. Avoid. All posted within minutes of each other. All from accounts I recognized as Priya's med school friends. Then came the Instagram story. Priya, eyes red-rimmed and pitiful, speaking to her phone camera. When family lets you down. When people you trusted your whole life suddenly abandon you. I don't know how I'm going to finish medical school now. I just wanted to help people. The comments poured in. OMG babe, what happened? Sending prayers? You're so strong? Some people are just jealous of success. Keep shining. She never mentioned my name, but she didn't have to. Her next story was a screenshot of a tuition bill marked overdue with the caption, 4 years of work about to disappear because someone decided to be petty. My business phone started ringing. Mrs. Patterson, one of my first customers, sounded confused. Maya dear, someone left a very strange review on your page. Something about family troubles. I told them they must have the wrong business. Thanks, Mrs. Patterson. Just some personal drama bleeding over. I'll handle it. But it got worse. By afternoon, Priya had crafted a narrative that spread through our extended family like wildfire. I heard about it from Arjun, who called me, despite the family group chat's apparent decision to freeze me out. Maya, you need to see what she's posting in the cousins' WhatsApp group. He sent me screenshots. Priya had written a long message. I'm heartbroken to share this, but I need support from my family. As you may know, Maya has been helping with my tuition. I've always been grateful for this. But after a small misunderstanding about a family dinner, she's completely cut me off with no warning. I have assignments due, clinical rotations scheduled, and now I might be expelled because I can't pay. I've worked so hard to become a doctor to help our community, and now it's all being taken away because of jealousy and spite. Please, keep me in your prayers. The responses were predictable. This is so cruel. How could Maya do this? Money changes people. She was always jealous of your success. I stared at the messages, fury and hurt warring in my chest. A small misunderstanding is that, what she was calling it, Arjun texted privately. You know I don't believe this BS, right? Want me to say something, no? I replied. Let them show themselves. And they did. Over the next 48 hours, I watched my extended family transform me from the helpful older sister into a vindictive monster who was destroying poor Priya's dreams. Never mind that I'd funded those dreams for years. Never mind that they'd literally uninvited me from Thanksgiving for being an embarrassment. The narrative was set. Priya was the victim. I was the villain. Monday morning brought a new development. I was reviewing invoices at my office when my receptionist knocked on my door. Maya, there's a woman here demanding to see you. She doesn't have an appointment. I looked up to see my mother in the waiting area dressed in her best guilt trip outfit, the sari she wore to temple the one that made her look like a suffering saint. Send her in. I sighed. She swept into my office like she owned it, didn't even glance at the certificates on the wall, the business awards, the photos of successful installations. Just fixed me with the disappointed stare she'd perfected over decades. You're destroying your sister's life, she began without preamble. Hello to you too, Mom. Don't be smart with me. Do you know what you've done? She got a final notice from the university. She has 48 hours to pay or she's out. Then she'd better hurry to the financial aid office. Mom's face twisted. How did we raise such a selfish daughter? I've been asking myself the same question, I said evenly. How did you raise a daughter who takes hundreds of thousands of dollars from her sister but can't even acknowledge what she does for a living? That's different. How explain to me how it's different? You wouldn't understand. You've never had ambitions beyond this. She gestured dismissively around my office. This business that employs 5 people. This business that's kept your lights on for the past 5 years. This business that's paid for Priya's entire education. We never asked you to do that. No, you just expected it. And I gave it. Freely. Lovingly. Right up until you decided I wasn't good enough to sit at your table. Mom stood abruptly. If you don't fix this by tomorrow, you're no longer welcome in our family. Mom, I said quietly, I haven't been welcome in this family for a long time. You just finally said it out loud. She left without another word, but not before I caught the glint of tears in her eyes. For a moment, I almost called her back. Almost? But then I remembered Priya's Instagram story that morning, a photo of her white coat with the caption, "Some people build others up. Some tear them down out of jealousy. I know which one I choose to be." The comments were already piling up with heart emojis and, "You're so inspiring," messages. Yeah, I thought. Inspiring. Built on a foundation of someone else's labor, someone else's sacrifice, someone else's money. Someone who wasn't even good enough to meet your boyfriend's parents. That night, I did something I'd never done before. I pulled out every single bank statement, every tuition payment receipt, every canceled check I'd written for Priya's education. 4 years of documentation. I scanned them all. And then I waited. Because I knew Priya. I knew my family. They weren't done yet. The real fireworks were still to come. And when they came, I'd be ready with the truth they'd spent so long ignoring. Tuesday arrived with the kind of dramatic flair my sister usually reserved for her social media posts. I was halfway through a routine HVAC inspection at a downtown office building when my phone buzzed with a Google alert. I'd set it up years ago for my business name, but this time it wasn't a customer review that popped up. It was a GoFundMe page. Help Priya save her medical career. My hand stilled on my tablet as I read, "My name is Priya Patel, and I'm a 4th-year medical student at the University of Washington. I've dedicated my life to becoming a doctor to serve underserved communities. Unfortunately, due to a family situation beyond my control, I've lost my financial support just weeks before graduation. I have 24 hours to raise $25,000 or I'll be expelled from medical school. Please help me achieve my dream of helping others." The page already had $500 in donations. The comments made my stomach turn. So inspiring, shared. Don't let family drama stop you from saving lives. You deserve better than toxic people. I screenshotted everything and went back to work, but my mind was racing. She'd turned this into a public spectacle. Fine. 2 could play at that game. That evening, I sat at my computer with a cup of tea and 4 years of receipts. I created my own post, not asking for money, just laying out facts. Since some family business has been made public, let me share some facts. Over the past 4 years, I've paid $200 plus in medical school tuition. I've covered rent, books, equipment, and living expenses. I did this while building my small HVAC business from scratch. I was uninvited from Thanksgiving because my profession was embarrassing. My sister told people I work in construction management instead of admitting I'm an AC tech. When I stopped paying after being deemed not good enough for their table, I became the villain. I'm not asking for sympathy or money. I'm just tired of being erased from my own story. I attached every receipt, every bank statement, every canceled check. 4 years of financial support meticulously documented. Then I tagged Priya. Within an hour, my post had more shares than her GoFundMe. The comments section exploded. Wait, you've been paying her tuition this whole time. She didn't invite you to Thanksgiving after you paid for her school. The audacity. Receipts don't lie. Someone found Priya's Instagram stories about working hard and sacrificing everything for medical school and posted screenshots in the comments. The contrast was damning. My phone rang. Priya. Take it down, she hissed without preamble. Why? I thought you wanted to make this public. You're ruining my reputation. No, Priya. I'm telling the truth. If the truth ruins your reputation, that's on you. People are calling me a liar. They're saying horrible things. Did you lie? Silence. Did you tell people I work in construction management instead of HVAC? More silence. Did you agree to uninvite me from Thanksgiving? It wasn't like that. Did you take my money while being ashamed of how I earned it? Maya, please. David already broke up with me because of this. His parents saw the posts. They think I'm some kind of gold digger who lies about her family. You mean they found out you're not the old money medical dynasty princess you pretended to be? She was crying now, but for once her tears didn't move me. I just wanted to fit in. Is that so wrong? No. What's wrong is stepping on the people who lifted you up to get there. I'll be expelled tomorrow. Then you better update your GoFundMe. Maybe try being honest this time. I hung up. The fallout was swift and brutal. The cousin WhatsApp group imploded as family members who'd attacked me read through the receipts and realized they'd been played. Aunt Rashmi called to apologize, mortified that she'd believed Priya's version without question. I should have known, she said. You've always been the responsible one. My mother tried damage control, posting her own statement about how family matters should stay private, and both girls are at fault. But the receipts spoke louder than her attempts at false equivalency. By Wednesday morning, Priya's GoFundMe had stalled at $2,000. Mine had been shared over 1,000 times, though I wasn't asking for anything except understanding. Then came the text that changed everything. From David, Priya's now ex-boyfriend. I think you should know. Priya told my parents she was paying her own way through medical school with loans. She said her family was comfortable but not wealthy, and that she wanted to be independent. I only found out about you when this all exploded. I'm sorry for how you were treated. You deserved better. I stared at that text for a long time. She'd erased me so completely that even her boyfriend didn't know I existed. All those years of sacrifice, and I wasn't even a footnote in the stories she told about herself. I forwarded the text to my parents without comment. Mom called within minutes. For the first time in my life, she sounded small. We didn't know, she whispered. About David. About what she was telling people. Yes, you did, I said quietly. Maybe not the specifics, but you knew she was ashamed of me. You helped her hide me. You uninvited me from Thanksgiving to keep her secret. We thought we were protecting her future. By erasing my present. By pretending I don't exist. Maya. I'm done, Mom. Done being the family secret. Done being the ATM. Done pretending blood means more than respect. She's your sister. No, I corrected. She's your daughter. There's a difference. That afternoon, something unexpected happened. A message popped up on my business page from Dr. Patricia Williams, Chief of Staff at Swedish Medical Center, the same hospital where David's parents worked. Ms. Patel, I've been following your story. We have a new initiative to provide HVAC services for our low-income clinic facilities. Would you be interested in submitting a bid? We value honest, hardworking contractors who understand the importance of keeping medical facilities operational. Your work keeping your family afloat while building your business shows exactly the kind of dedication we need. I read the message 3 times, tears blurring my vision. While I'd been deemed too embarrassing for a Thanksgiving dinner with doctors, an actual hospital administrator was offering me a contract because of who I was not, in spite of it. I submitted the bid that night. And for the first time in years, I didn't check to see if Priya had posted anything new. I was done living in the shadow of someone else's shame. Thursday morning arrived with certified mail. I signed for the envelope with a sinking feeling, already knowing what was inside before I opened it. Demand for repayment of educational loans. My parents had hired a lawyer. I read through the legal jargon with growing disbelief. They were claiming the money I'd given for Priya's education had been loans, not gifts, and were demanding repayment of the full $200,000 plus interest. My phone rang before I could fully process what I was reading. The number was unfamiliar, but I answered anyway. Ms. Patel, this is James Harrison from Harrison & Associates. I'm representing your parents in this matter. This matter? I laughed bitterly. You mean the fictional loans they've invented? My clients assert that there was a verbal agreement. Your clients are lying. Ms. Patel, I'd advise you to seek legal counsel. We're prepared to pursue this aggressively. With what evidence? Because I have 4 years of bank records showing gifts, not loans. No promissory notes. No repayment schedules. Nothing that even suggests these were loans. Verbal agreements are legally binding in Washington state. Good luck proving a verbal agreement that never happened. I hung up and immediately called my own lawyer, Sandra Chen, who'd helped me set up my business. They're desperate, she said after I forwarded the demand letter. This is intimidation, not legitimate legal action. Save everything. Every text, every email, every social media post where they acknowledge the money as support, not loans. That afternoon, I was at a job site when my foreman called. Boss, there's something weird going on. We've got protesters at the shop. Protesters? Your family. They've got signs. I drove back to find a scene that would have been comedic if it wasn't so pathetic. My parents, Priya, and a handful of relatives stood outside Morrison HVAC with hastily made signs: family before money, honor your parents, shameful daughter. Local news had already arrived. A reporter thrust a microphone in my face as I got out of my truck. Ms. Patel, your family claims you've stolen money from them. How do you respond? I looked at the camera, then at my family. Mom was wearing her temple sari again. Dad looked uncomfortable but determined. Priya had positioned herself perfectly for the camera's tears streaming down her face. I've stolen nothing, I said clearly. I gave my sister over $200,000 for her education. I paid my parents' bills for 5 years. I did this out of love, asking nothing in return except basic respect. When they decided I wasn't good enough to share a meal with them, I stopped giving. That's not theft. That's self-respect. But they claim there was an agreement. Then they should provide evidence of that agreement. I have evidence of gifts, bank records, texts thanking me for my support and help. Not once in 4 years did anyone mention repayment until I stopped being their ATM. Priya stepped forward. You're destroying our family. No, I said, meeting her eyes. You destroyed our family when you decided I was too embarrassing to acknowledge. The reporter sensed blood in the water. Ms. Patel, can you elaborate on that? I pulled out my phone and showed the screenshot of David's text. My sister told her boyfriend's family she was paying her own way through school. She told her classmates I work in construction management instead of HVAC. She agreed to exclude me from Thanksgiving because my job wasn't impressive enough for her boyfriend's doctor parents. I was good enough to fund her dreams, but not good enough to be part of her life. The crowd that had gathered murmured. Some of my regular customers had come out of nearby businesses to watch, and I saw Mrs. Patterson shaking her head in disgust. "That's not true," Priya protested. "Which part?" I asked. "The part where you lied about me, or the part where you took my money while being ashamed of how I earned it?" The news crew was eating this up. My phone buzzed with a text from Sandra. "Beautiful, keep going. This is all admissible if they actually sue." Mom stepped forward, switching to Hindi, probably hoping the cameras wouldn't understand. "Stop this, you're humiliating us." I responded in English. "You humiliated me first. The difference is, I'm telling the truth." That night, the footage went viral. Thanksgiving betrayal started trending locally. The public sentiment was overwhelmingly in my favor, especially after someone dug up Priya's old Instagram posts, calling herself self-made and independent. Friday brought the inevitable escalation. A process server found me at a job site with actual lawsuit papers. My parents were suing me for $200,000 plus damages for emotional distress and breach of verbal contract. Sandra met me at her office that evening, barely containing her glee. "This is the best gift they could have given us," she said, spreading out the papers. "They've opened themselves up to discovery. We can subpoena their financial records, their communications, everything." "I don't want to destroy them," I said quietly. "I just want to be left alone." "Then we countersue," she said. "Defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress and fraud. They claimed you were part of the family while treating you as less than. They took your money under false pretenses." "What false pretenses?" "That you were valued. That you were family. That your contributions mattered beyond your wallet." She pulled out a tablet. "I've been going through your social media documentation. Do you know how many times your mother posted about family unity and supporting each other, while simultaneously planning to exclude you from family events? I don't want their money." "No, but you want them to stop. A countersuit will make them think twice." That weekend, I worked emergency calls and tried not to think about Monday's scheduled mediation, but Sunday night Arjun called with news that changed everything. "Maya, you need to know something. Priya didn't just lie to David's family. She's been collecting financial aid this whole time." "What?" "My friend works in the financial aid office. Priya's been getting need-based aid for 4 years. She listed herself as independent with no family support." My blood ran cold. "But I've been paying?" "Exactly. She's been double-dipping, taking your money and the university's." "That's fraud." "Yeah, it is." I hung up and immediately called Sandra. By the time we walked into mediation Monday morning, we had a very different strategy. The mediator's office was sterile, all beige walls and uncomfortable chairs. My family sat on one side of the table, parents rigid Priya fidgeting their lawyer looking confident. Sandra and I sat across from them. "Before we begin," Sandra said smoothly, "we'd like to present some new information." She slid a folder across the table. Their lawyer opened it, and I watched his face change from smug to concerned to outright alarmed. "Your client," Sandra continued, "has been committing financial aid fraud for 4 years. While accepting $200,000 from my client, she's also been receiving need-based aid by claiming no family support." Priya went pale. "That's not—" "We have the forms you signed," Sandra interrupted. "Under penalty of perjury, you claim to have no financial support from family. Meanwhile, my client has receipts for every payment." The mediator leaned forward. "This is a serious allegation." "It's not an allegation," Sandra said. "It's documented fact. If this goes to trial, we'll be obligated to report it to the university and federal authorities. Financial aid fraud is a felony." My parents' lawyer whispered urgently to them. Mom looked like she might faint. Dad's face had turned an alarming shade of red. "What do you want?" their lawyer finally asked. Sandra smiled. "Drop the lawsuit. Sign an agreement that these were gifts, not loans. Cease all contact with my client. No more protests, no more social media posts, no more defamation. In exchange, we won't report the fraud." "That's extortion," Priya burst out. "No," Sandra said calmly. "That's consequences." The room fell silent. I could hear the air conditioning humming, someone typing in the next office. My family exchanged looks, panic, anger, defeat, all warring on their faces. Finally, their lawyer spoke. "We need to confer with our clients." They huddled in the corner, whispering furiously. I caught fragments: jail time, and reputation, and no choice. When they returned to the table, Mom couldn't meet my eyes. "We'll accept your terms," their lawyer said quietly. The papers were drawn up within an hour. As we signed, Priya glared at me with pure hatred. "You've ruined my life," she hissed. "No," I said, setting down the pen. "I gave you every opportunity to build a life. You chose to build it on lies instead." We walked out of that office separately. Them to their car, me to mine. As I drove away, I didn't look back. There was nothing left to see. The family I'd tried so hard to support, to please, to be worthy of, they were strangers now. And maybe they always had been. 6 months later, I stood in my new office. A real office, not the converted storage room at the back of the shop. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Elliott Bay, and I could see ferries crossing the water like clockwork. The contract with Swedish Medical Center had led to 3 more hospital contracts. Morrison HVAC had doubled in size. "Maya." My assistant knocked on the door. "Your 2 o'clock is here." "Send them in." I expected to see the representative from Children's Hospital. Instead, Arjun walked in, hands shoved in his pockets, looking uncharacteristically nervous. "Hey," he said, closing the door behind him. "Nice view." "Thanks." I gestured to the chairs across from my desk. "What brings you here?" He sat down, fidgeting with his phone. "I wanted to tell you in person. Priya graduated last week." I kept my face neutral. Good for her. She had to take out private loans, massive ones. The financial aid thing, the university made her pay back everything once they found out. She's looking at about $400K in debt now. "Arjun, why are you telling me this?" "Because she asked me to ask you." "No." "You didn't let me finish." "I don't need to. The answer is no." He sighed. "Fair enough. But Maya, Mom and Dad, they're struggling. Really struggling. Dad's diabetes is getting worse, and without insurance. They have insurance. They just have to pay for it themselves now. They can't afford it." I turned to look out the window. A seagull perched on the railing, fighting the wind. "Do you know what Mom said to me during mediation?" "Nothing." Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "Thank you for all you've done." Nothing. She signed papers agreeing to never contact me again, and she looked relieved. They're proud people. "No, Arjun. They're ashamed people. There's a difference." We sat in silence for a moment. Then he asked, "Do you regret it?" "Which part?" "Any of it. All of it." I considered the question. 6 months of peace. 6 months of not checking my bank balance before every family interaction. 6 months of building something for myself instead of subsidizing someone else's dreams. "I regret that it took me so long," I said finally. "I regret that I let them make me feel small for so many years. But cutting them off? No. That's the one thing I did right." Arjun nodded slowly. "For what it's worth, I think you did the right thing too. I just wish—" "Yeah," I said softly. "Me too." After he left, I returned to my desk and the contract waiting for review. My phone buzzed, a text from one of my employees with a photo from a job site. They'd just finished installing a new system at a homeless shelter, pro bono work we'd started doing monthly. That evening, I met my crew at our usual spot, a dive bar that served the best wings in Seattle. We celebrated landing another contract, toasted our newest apprentice, and talked shop until closing time. Nobody asked about my family. These people, my employees, my clients, my friends, they were my chosen family now. As I drove home through the familiar streets, I passed the exit that led to my parents' house. I didn't even slow down. My apartment was different now, too. The secondhand furniture had been replaced with pieces I'd chosen myself. The walls held photos from company barbecues and job sites, certificates of appreciation from the hospitals we serviced. On my bookshelf next to technical manuals and business guides sat a single photo from Thanksgiving 2 years ago, the last one where we'd all smiled and meant it. I made myself dinner, salmon and roasted vegetables, a far cry from the takeout containers that used to litter my counter. As I ate, my phone lit up with a news alert. The University of Washington Medical School had announced new financial aid reforms, including stricter verification processes. They didn't mention Priya's case specifically, but I knew it had played a role. My laptop dinged with an email. The sender made me pause. David Morrison, no relation despite the shared last name. He was the owner of the largest HVAC company in the Pacific Northwest. Ms. Patel, I've been following your story and your company's growth. I'm looking to retire in the next few years and need someone with integrity and business acumen to consider for acquisition. Would you be interested in discussing possibilities? I read it twice, then 3 times. 5 years ago, I would have immediately called my family to share the news. Now, I simply smiled and typed a response. Later that night, I found myself on the balcony despite the chilly June evening. Seattle sprawled below, lights twinkling like stars. Somewhere in this city, my parents were probably watching TV, complaining about their bills. Priya was likely studying for her boards, drowning in debt, but finally doctor in title, if not in spirit. And me, I was here. Whole. Successful. Free. My phone buzzed. Another message on the business page. Hi Maya, you don't know me, but I saw your story online. I'm also the oldest daughter, also in trades. Electrician, also been supporting my family, while they treat me like I'm not good enough. Your post gave me the courage to set boundaries. Thank you for sharing your truth. I'd gotten dozens of these messages over the months. Each one reminded me that my story wasn't unique, just usually untold. I typed back, your worth isn't measured by what you give to others. It's measured by how you value yourself. Stay strong. As midnight approached, I made myself tea and curled up on the couch with next quarter's expansion plans. The business that had embarrassed my family was now worth more than they'd ever dreamed. The hands they'd considered too dirty to share a table with had built something extraordinary. The irony wasn't lost on me. In trying to erase me from their respectable life, they'd freed me to build an exceptional one. My phone rang, the business line. Even at this hour, emergency calls came through. Morrison HVAC, this is Maya. Thank God you're open. Our heat just died and we have a newborn. I'll be there in 30 minutes. I promised, already reaching for my tools. Because that's what I did. I showed up. I fixed things. I helped people. Even if my own family had never understood the value in that. As I drove through the empty streets toward another emergency, another family in need, I realized something: I hadn't lost a family. I'd gained a life. And that life, it was more than enough. It was everything. Sometimes walking away isn't giving up, it's growing up. Sometimes the family you choose is worth more than the family you're born into. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's simply living well. Have you ever had to choose between family expectations and your own self-worth? Have you ever been made to feel small by the people who should lift you up? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. And remember, you are enough exactly as you are. If this story resonated with you, please share it. Someone out there needs to hear that it's okay to choose themselves.